I write fiction, but that part I didn't make, nothing in my talk. It's absolutely true. I mean, without the library and without that display, I would have had no idea that the Yellowstone supervolcano existed. I never would have, I wouldn't have been able to write the book because I didn't know the premise, right? Yeah. That's where the premise came from. It came from right here. And actually, I really appreciate it because whatever librarian built the display, I didn't really realize this, but you're supposed to check out books off the display. It's okay to destroy them. But that day she'd made a little sign that said, please check out books or something like that. And so I knew, okay, it's all right.
I think libraries are, public libraries are special places that are really central to our civilization. I sometimes fear that there are barbarians at the gate. And there are a few institutions that are protecting the gate from the invaders, and public libraries are among the most important of those institutions. We have to be able to read, we have to be able to think, we have to be able to engage in the real world. And these books and these newspapers and journals and online materials are what we absolutely must have in order to engage.
It was very special for me to dedicate the money to the Little Turtle branch of the Allen County Public Library. It was the branch where I learned to read and where my mother all her life went to check out books. Very special to me and my family. And I understand that they're going to use that money to increase the holdings of Indiana history and material about Indiana, because that's what I use the library for a lot.
I wrote a blog post for Laura for the Glick process about the role the library had when I was growing up. We used to drive to Broadway Library. It's since been replaced by a beautiful new library, the College Avenue branch, and we would just load down the trunk with books, and that was a weekly process. And by about the time I turned 10, we had pretty much read everything that was at the Broadway branch at that point that was even remotely of interest or appropriate for me. And so we started to come down to the Riley Room down here. And while I love the beautiful new library we've got, and I use it, I'm here 3 or 4 times a week, I was sort of sad to see the Riley Room getting torn down, right? Because I spent so much of my childhood there, even though I realized that you made a better area out of it. But, and then, as an adult, the library's been critical to my process too. Something on the order of 1/3 of all my work has been done sitting at your tables, in the brand new editions. Normally my process is I'll get up in the morning, I'll try to write 500 words. If I get at home, which is about 8 blocks from here, if I get my 500 words, I'll walk to the library. That's my reward. I get to walk to the library. And then I'll sit down in the library, I'll try to write another 500 words. If I write my second 500 words, then I get to eat lunch. Maybe you can tell I like my lunch. So, and then sometimes I'll go on and I'll walk to, to a coffee shop. I'll walk back towards home, back to the Foundry coffee shop, which I really love. And I'll write some more, but a big part of the process is the library. And then the other important part of the library for me is, particularly back when I was starting, when I hadn't published anything, we didn't have the money to buy all the books I read. I read something on the order of 150 odd books a year, so 2 or 3 a week on a pretty routine, regular basis. And this has been my source for those, ever since I moved back to Indianapolis 12 years ago. This is where I get them. And so I really believe what I wrote in that blog post for Laura. I said, look, if you want to build a city that has is a great transportation hub, you build a great highway system. You want to build a city that's a great creative hub, you build libraries and museums.